My name's Andrew Jackson. I'm a photographer originally from the UK. I'm now based in Montreal. We're in the education room of PHI Foundation, which is hosting the exhibition of the participants' work, which was made during a series of workshops. I was born in an area called Dudley, which is in the Midlands, the middle of the UK, and it's an industrial space. It's part of an area which is historically called the Black Country, and it's called that because it was one of the birthplaces of the Industrial Revolution, and it had lots of factories and chimneys, all coal producing, all coal burning, which painted the landscape in black soot, hence the name. My parents and their experience of leaving Jamaica and coming to the UK has shaped my experience of the world, but also, I guess, have shaped photography. One day, when I was at school, I wasn't the most academic of students. And I went to the library and I found an old British Journal of Photography, Annual of Photography. And in there was a work by a photographer called Nick Hedges. It was a kind of social documentary photographer, famous in the 60s, 70s and 80s. And he'd done a work about the declining industrial base of the Black Country. And I looked through Nick Hedges' images and I saw all of the stories which my parents had told me come to life in these images. Interpersonal relationships of black and white workers I saw kind of described and explored in this photographic essay by Nick Hedges, and I suddenly thought, this is what I want to do. I wanted to tell people stories, give people opportunities to share their work through my interpretation of their lives. And then I began to think about, my photography, my role as a photographer, which is when I began to think about a series of works which explored my parents' migration from Jamaica to the UK, and that has developed into 4 separate bodies of work under the umbrella title of Across the Sea, which looks at different aspects of migration experienced by, it's intergenerational observation. So the first body of work from the small island explored directly my parents' migration to the UK and looked at the overall themes of what I wanted to explore in the other 3 works. The second work, The Last Days of Summer, is a direct focus on the 3rd generation, those whose grandparents came over. The end of their use arrives at a time when Britain has withdrawn its immigration bills. The same immigration that brought their grandparents to the UK will never happen again in Britain. Historically, notions of blackness had been, written, conceived, drawn by predominantly white artists, photographers. A long time notions of blackness have been conceived as monolithic in that sense, and but it's individual, it's subjective. And my identity as a black man who was born and socialized in the United Kingdom is never going to be the same as a black man who was born and socialized in Malawi. And so I'm interested in also, I guess, trying to create opportunities for a range of notions of blackness, a kind of pluralistic interpretation of what it means to be black. I think in terms of the workshops, I wanted to introduce a range of themes, people photographing people, exploring those relationships and those kind of ethical dimensions of engaging with other people and perhaps telling stories which might not be yours. I was interested in also the ways in which we explore space, we experience space. And so, there was discussions about kind of psychogeography, etc. But I was also interested in research and planning. How do you develop a rigorous interrogation of those ideas, and how do you then visualize them? And I was also kind of interested in showing them the works of, black practitioners who had explored similar issues which perhaps they were into also. But, not exclusively, but I thought it was important for them to see that there are black artists out there who are exploring issues which they wanted to do as well. Not in a way to copy, but a way of kind of inspiring, I guess, in that sense. From the inspiration for this project title, was W.E.B. Du Bois, who talked about the idea of the double consciousness of black people in turn of century America, who were socialized to live in a white environment, but still had their black identity, and the dualities of that existence. For these participants, and some of them at the really early stages of their practice, to have to work with a curator, to work with professionals, to work in a space that wants to show their work in the best possible way that they can, is a very important and rare occasion. And I think that's what makes this so special in that sense. PHI Foundation have given a platform for not just photographs, but the ideas and the voice of these individuals, which within a space that says that there isn't any structural racism, for an organization to give a platform to black voices is very important.